Hello, and welcome to Tech Latest by Nikkei Asia, where we bring you the freshest updates from the technology sector in Asia. Every episode, one of our reporters from the region will be filling us in on the tech news on their radar, from semiconductors in China to space travel in Japan to startups in Indonesia. From Nikkei Asia's Tokyo headquarters, I'm Alice French. In this episode, my colleague Jada Nagumo is talking to Kenji Kawase, our chief business news correspondent based in Hong Kong, about how the EU is squaring up to China's EV market domination and the hurdles that Indonesia is facing in its quest to become an EV battery hub.
Hi, Kenji. Thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me.
So this week you wrote an interesting story about China's EV market, particularly about government subsidies. Can you give us a rundown and tell us why you decided to investigate this?
The starting point of this story was European Commission President von der Leyen's State of the Union address on September 13th. She said Brussels will launch an anti-subsidy investigation into EVs from China, which I thought was quite rare. And also she said in her reasoning that, quote, global markets are now flooded with cheaper Chinese electric cars and their prices kept artificially low by huge state subsidies, which is distorting our market, end quote. And the word huge state subsidies hit me as because I have been watching Chinese listed companies for many years. And I've followed their disclosure a lot, and I've written several stories in the past on government subsidies, but not through the government data, but through the corporate disclosures. So I knew how to sort of dig into this, and which I did. And also at the same time, because to my knowledge, there is no handy macro data available in China of how much they paid to the companies. And so I went on and used the database and I checked all the individual companies, their mid-year results, and contacted the companies for comments and all that, and end up with that story.
I see. And what was one of the most surprising findings during your reporting?
Actually, I already knew that the EV sector is one of the top recipients of Chinese government grants. And it's just a matter of like rotation type thing among other tech companies or oil companies. Like, for instance, a company that topped the list this time, CATL, the battery company, they have been a very large recipient of Chinese government grants over the years. Or BYD, the EV maker, they have been receiving a lot of government subsidies. Or SAIC Motor, this is a state-owned company which has a joint venture with Volkswagen and General Motors, and all others which are high up on the ranking are all basically the same. And like for other sectors, for instance, BOE Technology, which makes displays, or TCL, another tech company, and Sinopec, the oil company, which is another sector that bags a lot of government subsidies. They are all regulars in terms of being on top of the subsidy list in China. But if I were to sort of raise what sort of new surprise which I had was some of the new names in these sectors. For instance, the best example would be EV Energy. Many people may not have heard of this company, but this is a very fast-rising lithium-ion battery company. And they came up to the top 10 list. And also in comparison to a year ago, the amount of subsidies that they received during the first 6 months of the year was like 4 times compared to the year before. It's really interesting to dig into this topic, because you can really tell what the authorities of China want to see growing in their economy, as China's tension with the Western world, not only the United States, but with U.S. allies, go deeper and deeper. It shows that they really want EV sector to thrive with this extra push from the government, the extra financial push from the government sector. But, having said all this, we're not really sure whether the European Commission will eventually take any actions. They are, after 9 months of investigation period, they have to come up with a result, and they'll have to decide on whether they're going to slap extra tariff onto Chinese EVs. But we're not really sure whether they're going to actually do that or not. Well, because France and Germany, two of the biggest economies, they really have a different position in the Chinese auto market. French virtually doesn't have any position. They lost market share. So they are very tough on China. However, Germany, they are the largest foreign brand in China, and they have a very big stake in China. So they are afraid any actions by Brussels against Chinese EVs could have a detrimental effect in China.
Okay, let's turn over to Southeast Asia now. This week we had another story about EVs in Indonesia, a country that's aiming to become a hub for EV batteries. But it's facing some obstacles, right?
Yeah, this is a very interesting story because, first of all, Indonesia has been aspiring to transform itself from just being a provider of raw materials into a producer of EV battery, very important part for the EV sector, the EV industry. And Indonesia is the world's largest producer of nickel, which is a key material for the EV batteries. However, they do not have lithium, which is very important ingredients for EV. And the problem is the Indonesian government have went global and tried to secure lithium reserves elsewhere, but they bumped into China. With China, they were ahead of the game, and they already have a lot of mining rights being bought off by them. And so China controls the supply of lithium. And that's where the issue of Indonesia comes in terms of their ambition of being EV battery hub.
Aside from China, there's another hurdle in Indonesia's way, this time involving the US.
Yeah, this is a tragic thing for Indonesia, as the Inflation Reduction Act, which is abbreviated as IRA. This is a law in the United States which provides incentives for EV-related companies operating in the US or countries that have a free trade agreement with the United States. Indonesia, unfortunately, doesn't have the FTA with the United States. So therefore, they are not under Indonesian company. Indonesia is not under this coverage of IRA. Also, in this act, the IRA, it excludes foreign entities of concern from receiving whatever incentives from the U.S. government. And this foreign entities of concern includes China, which is not a good news for Indonesia because Indonesia already has a lot of investment, EV or battery-related projects from China. So U.S. trying to build up their own EV industry at home is hitting Indonesia.
Thank you so much, Kenji, for all the rundown, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much, Jada.
That's all for this episode. You can read more of Kenji's reporting, along with a host of other stories about Asia's tech industry, on Nikkei Asia's website, asia.nikkei.com. And if you like what you hear, why not subscribe to our weekly Tech Asia newsletter, which will be delivered to your inbox every Thursday. There's a link to sign up in the show notes. And check back in next time for more updates on the tech trends that matter.